we were sitting there in bed last night, and you were like, okay, here's in the 3 years we've been dating, of all the people, we must have gone on at least 100 different dates. And of all of them, we could think of two, maybe three people who actually had this reciprocal engagement with us. And that's
Bad.
such a consistent trend.
Hey, I'm Jen, host of the Open Bedroom podcast, where you'll find topics of sex, dating, relationships, non monogamy, and more. I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Open Bedroom podcast. For those of you that have been watching for a while, my husband Scott is back on.
Hi.
Hey
Hi,
there.
nice to see you again.
I like that we're kind of matching a little bit, like
We're
with
not remotely matching.
I mean, there's a little like pink burgundy vibes happening today if
Sure.
you're watching on YouTube, or you can also watch on Spotify. So, Scott and I have been on a plethora of bad dates lately, and we wanted to come to you today and talk to you about it. And what I'm calling today's episode is why you're not getting that second date. Now, you might be in the world of dating, you're dating all the time, and you're like, man, why is nobody calling me back? Or you go and you fuck someone and you're like, man, I thought that went relatively well. Why is he not calling me back for a second round? Or why is she not calling me back for a second round? And today, Scott and I are going to give you some information about our experience of why the fuck we don't call people back. Now, it's probably much more ethical for us to have this conversation in front of each of the people that we never called back. But I'm also going to take the approach of if they don't ask, they're probably not ready to hear the information. So instead, you guys get to hear the information and do with it as you will. So,
Well, I don't want to throw a wrench in your opening here,
yeah.
but like, so why are you not getting called back? Like, that's an incredibly broad question. I think because there are any number of reasons why maybe somebody's not actually pursuing that second date with you. That could be you, that could be them, that could be any number of things. We're, I think, specifically talking about like a particular theme that we've noticed across our dates. And so uh, maybe maybe a better way to well, I think we're talking about a particular behavior as opposed to just in general why you're not getting that second date. But at least that's my that's my contribution to this is this particular theme that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, my subheading was you're too painful to date. Like
Jesus.
we have literally had dates and we've gotten in the car and we've looked at each other and been like, that was the most painful hour and a half of my entire life.
Oh boy. Okay.
I want us to just talk about all of it.
Yeah. All
Okay,
right.
so when did we start noticing, like how many dates in did we start noticing they never asked about me, not one time?
Well, this is something that I've been aware of for years, like long before I met you. And we had that one first, I guess you would call it a date, that one introductory dinner with a particular couple. And um like after like we sat there for literally, I think it was like 2 hours listening to this guy just talk about himself and talk about with his wife chiming in to back him up and just kind of I don't know, verbally puff him up. Just talking about what a big deal he was in like some online space or on a Discord board. And anyway, it was 2 hours of this guy just talking about himself and talking about how cool he was. And then as we were driving home, I was like, hey, did you notice that across that 2 hours, that guy didn't ask us anything at all about ourselves? And so then I think I think maybe this is a story I've told many times, but I think maybe that's the first time I told you this story of years ago when I had this I wouldn't even call it a friendship, this acquaintance with a woman that I worked with American Express. And she she had we'd just kind of met in some team building exercise, that she wasn't somebody I'd ever met before, and but because of just my approach to some of the things in the team building exercise, she seemed to think that I was really smart and perceptive. So she wanted to, whenever she would see me, like in the cafeteria of the American Express building, she'd come up and just start talking to me. And like at first I was flattered. I was very flattered that she seemed to have this favorable impression of me and she wanted to talk to me. And she was I thought she was incredibly attractive. Like she was very pretty and seemed really cool and fun. And so I was like, wow, awesome. This cool, fun, pretty girl wants to come up and talk to me. And this would happen, once or twice a week. I would run into her and she'd come up and talk to me. This went on for several weeks, maybe a few months. And there were a few times I reached out to her and asked her, hey, would you like to, get together outside of our workplace and talk more? And because you know, I have a good time chatting with you, I said. Um, she never seemed to quite have time to actually get together outside of work. She just always had time to come up to me and talk at me endlessly. And what I realized after a few months was that I knew everything about this chick. I knew where she grew up. I knew what her career history. I knew where she'd gone to school. I knew what her like dreams and aspirations were. I knew about the real estate company she wanted to start. I knew about her daughter. I knew what instrument her daughter played in band. I knew what sports her daughter played. I knew where her daughter went to school. I knew all her family drama, knew her workplace drama, knew her boyfriend drama, knew about the house she was trying to renovate. Just everything, like all kinds of, I knew all about this lady's life. And it clicked for me when she told me that she needed to send an email to like the people in our team. And she asked me to remind her my name, so that she could send me this email. And I just like stood there and kind of smiled to myself because I was like, this lady does not know a fucking thing about me. She doesn't know anything about me. She has never in all this time asked me a single question about me. And because she wasn't interested in talking with me or getting to know me. She was just interested in somebody who would listen to her, who she could just verbally, use as a soundboard. And I realized that was kind of a common theme with a lot of people I'd met in my life. And then when you and I got into the dating scene, uh, and we had this dinner with these people, it was like clicking for me. It's like, I know what this is. And I think I had told you, like I had decided when I realized what this girl at work was doing, I stopped. I just uh I withdrew from that interaction and I started like making not necessarily a rule, but a practice for myself that if I'm engaging with somebody, if after some period of time, some predetermined period of time, I realize that I've listened, I've learned so much about them, and they have not asked anything about me. They don't know anything about me. Then I politely withdraw from that interaction. Um, and so I feel like I've been going on for a lot
No,
here
this is
just to
so good. You've
contextualize.
even made like a really, really nice, almost like cut and paste response that I have
Mm.
watched you send multiple times. And I never know with this kind of scenario, when do you give them that's like actually hopefully makes them think and stop and go, oh, maybe I don't want to do this to anyone else. Maybe this is the reason why I'm not getting another date. And then when
Yeah,
do you, like what I gave you this morning, which was more like an HR letter,
it really was.
or are you just always clear and compassionate, even though it might hurt their feelings?
Um, I think because it's like with I mean, there's a reason that those HR letters are so impersonal because it's difficult and it creates an opportunity for conflict and unpleasant further engagement when you critique somebody. Um, I think, but again, to reiterate, the thing I'm thinking about when we're talking about why you're not getting that second date,
Hmm.
this common theme we've noticed is people we go out with. Like, yeah, before like I diagnose and we dig into why, like just to state what we notice when we go out is so many times we've been out with women who we sit down to dinner and this is the first time we're meeting. This is the first time they're seeing us. And what they do is they spend an hour and a half, 2 hours just talking at us. And because we're asking questions, like we're asking questions about who they are,
Hmm.
because of course we are, because uh that's an adult and considerate way. I think that's an emotionally mature way to engage with somebody, is to express curiosity about them. Because everybody wants to feel like if you're talking with somebody, you want to feel that they're actually interested in you.
Yeah.
And so I like to, I mean, if I wasn't interested in this person, if I wasn't curious about them, I wouldn't be on this date with them to begin with. That's my perspective. That's our perspective. And so we give them that like we express that curiosity about them. And what they do is, instead of making it a mutual exchange and instead of expressing equal curiosity about us, uh, and even instead of really telling us about the substance of who they are, which I think is what we want to know, what they do is they spend an hour and a half or 2 hours just talking at us about the petty minutia of their day-to-day lives. They talk about their work drama. They talk about whatever ailments they're dealing with at the moment. They talk about, oh, the car trouble and how expensive that was. They talk about their ex and how shitty their ex was. And then they say, okay, I'm done talking about my ex. And then 5 minutes later, they're going back into another story about how shitty their ex is, or about how frustrating the dating scene is, or about the other people they're fucking that I didn't ask about. Um, and, but what they, it doesn't ever even occur to them to express any curiosity about us. And like with the girl from work, um, it it wasn't that it told me that she genuinely just did not give a shit about who I was or anything about me, because if she did care, she would have asked. If these people who go on a date with us, if they're actually interested, they would be asking something, anything, but they don't do that. We were sitting there in bed last night, and you were like, okay, here's in the 3 years we've been dating, of all the people, we must have gone on at least 100 different dates. And of all of them, we could think of two, maybe three people
Hmm.
who actually had this reciprocal engagement with us. And that's
Bad.
such a consistent trend that it's kind of interesting. Um, sorry, I've been talking a lot. What are your observations? What are your thoughts as we're getting into this?
I mean, last night I was exhausted and I was definitely buzzed on that one cider drink that I had. So I think I was feeling my feelings harder than I normally would have. I think normally I would have just brushed off. So by the way, we had a date last night that led us to make sure we recorded today since it was fresh on our mind with this happening again. And I remember sitting next to you in bed going, is this all of humanity? Like, if
Hmm.
so, what are we even doing? Are we the anomaly? Are we the only humans that give a shit about anybody else? Because I am so fucking tired of sitting in front of another woman while she blabbers on about whatever the fuck she wants to talk about and not asking a single question about us. Not one. Not like, hey, tell me about your kids, or hey, what do you do for work, or hey, what do you like to do? Do you work out? Do you read books? Do you like to cook? Oh, what do you like to cook? It is so easy. It is so fucking easy to just ask a question about another person. We even have Chat GPT. You could even copy and paste questions if you don't know how to ask questions. But to not
Yeah.
even have enough self-awareness that all you're doing is blubbering all over people and to not watch their facial expressions. Like I'm sure I was doing this with my face, at least part of
Yeah,
it, right?
I was just totally checking out. Like I was looking at signs.
You
I was looking at
were.
the
I was
fucking
watching you go like
building
this.
signs.
You were like
I
this
was
at one
looking at the
point.
sky.
And
Yeah.
I was like looking at you like, get me out of here. And
Yeah.
on and on and on. Blah, 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 blah. And then there was a dead man. And I was like, wait, what? What
Yeah.
is happening?
Um, I don't think I mean it's obviously it's not everybody that's like that. And that was something I was thinking about as we were talking about on the way home,
Hmm.
because I know there are interesting and curious people out there. I mean, I engage with plenty of interesting and curious people maybe day to day.
Yeah.
Um,
So do I with
but
work. Hmm.
but there's some correlation between women who are willing to date a couple and and I'm sure there are men like I'm sure there are probably men who do this same thing. But we're
It's
only
not as
dating
many.
women,
Yeah.
so we're only dating women, so that's my sample size. My sample is women who are willing to go on a date with a couple, and that seems to strongly correlate with people who relentlessly talk about themselves and talk at people about themselves, and they talk at us,
Yeah.
and it is exhausting, and it does not make me think, oh, I want to see more of this person. It makes me think, Jesus fucking Christ, how quickly, like, how are we going to get out of this? Because she'll sit here and talk at us all night if we don't figure out how to
So I
disengage.
broke these women down into five archetypes if you're curious, and I thought maybe we
Yeah.
could kind of go through each one in our experience with them. Just as you and I have been talking, this came to me. There's the chatty Cathy. That's who we're talking about. The one who doesn't know how to shut up and doesn't know how to ask questions. And we
Yeah.
want women that can communicate. We want women that are curious and interesting and have a story to tell, but not for an hour and a half and not ever, ever asking about you, especially through 3 days of text messaging and never asking a question about you. Then there's negative Nancy. So I think
Mm.
we can combine one with two with our recent attempts at dating someone who cost both of us a cumulative $400 worth of dates. You want to talk about that one?
And well, and that was just two dates, or
Three.
maybe. Oh, okay.
You had two, and I had
Well,
one that
like,
I paid for.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go into the details of that really, other than that, like, I went out with this lady and she literally ordered $100 and something worth of mixed drinks. And I didn't even drink anything. I thought we were just gonna sit and have a drink and have an appetizer. And anyway,
You have
that's
to talk about the one cheese stick that you ate because that's the funniest part of the whole story.
what was that
I'll tell
was
the story. So Scott
oh,
goes and
okay.
he orders cheese sticks because he's like, he goes, I'm not really
Oh, that's
hungry.
right.
Are
Yeah.
you into cheese sticks? Let's just get some cheese sticks at this like really fancy restaurant. So he's like, I'll just drink water because I don't want to drink tonight. I'm not feeling it. And she orders her first drink. And so she eats all the cheese sticks. He eats like one cheese stick. And then she orders dinner and two more drinks while he eats
Yeah.
one cheese stick, water, and then pays $150
Yeah.
to watch her eat and drink and get drunk off her ass.
And if it had been like a fantastic conversation, then that would that would have been what I took away. Like,
Right.
oh, this was a lot of fun.
Next
but
time we're
it
going to the
wasn't.
taco truck, you know?
Yeah, it was just her talking at me and really just like bitching at me about her coworkers and how stupid they are. And
Yeah.
anyway, and but like aside from just complaint, I'm sorry, I think you got
No, go
three more
ahead.
archetypes type. Well,
Oh, you want to hear the other ones? Well, she
yeah.
also becomes number three, which I can talk about. This is the same person. She was like three strikes, you're out. I didn't even tell her bye. I just walked out and never talked to her again, which was not ethical or nice, but I just did it. The third is Pillow Princess.
Mm,
So I, I'm like, how do I start out? I am a very reciprocal, if not instigator of sex,
yeah.
especially with women. I find that I either have to lead it or, yeah, pretty much always have to lead it, except for with Steph. She's pretty much the only one who's ever, anyway, doesn't matter. So when I was dating this person, this was my one date night. This is the same person, mozzarella chick
Uh,
girl and negative Nancy and Pillow Princess. She has all these ideas of things I'm going to do to her. And I get
that
to
you're
her,
gonna do to her.
I'm going to do to her. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And so I'm like, all right, well, let's try it. And so I get to her house and it smells like wet dog. And then I get to the bedroom and all the lights are on. There's no ambiance. There's no candle. There's no music. There is nothing that indicates sex is going to happen. And
Yeah.
then sex starts happening. And I'm like, oh God, now I have to lead this. And I'm a woman that likes like sensuality. Like give me some
Yeah.
ambiance a little bit, you know? Like I can role play anything, but I got to be in the right headspace for it. And then just expected me to fuck her for a few hours, and I did. And then when it was time for me, it was awful. And I was like giving direction, and then she'd say, "No, I know how to do this." And I'm like, "God, but you don't." And so by the time I left after the three strikes you're out thing, I was just like, this was the most awful experience I've ever had with another
Mm,
woman. And so for me, another reason you may not be getting, the call back for another date or another sex date is because you're just laying there like a limp fish. And
very
I
very
think
selfish lover.
a selfish and just like to me, sex requires the muscle of learning how to be good at it. Like you
Mm,
read books, you watch videos, you whatever, like take a course. But especially if you don't know how to have sex with women and you're a woman, you need to fucking go learn how to do that before you start like inviting people into your bedroom and pretending like you know what you're doing and then just laying there, like take care
yeah.
of me. And so I can imagine as a man that constantly having to initiate sex or constantly having to lead sex can be so
Mm,
exhausting. And instead, like how interesting and amazing, like when you and I first had sex, Scott, and you were like,
mm.
"Oh my God, she's participating. Like she's
Yeah.
actually an actively involved participant in this
And my house
exchange."
didn't smell like wet dog, I don't think.
No, your house smelled amazing. And you had the mood lighting, and you had a candle, and you had ambiance, and you cooked for me and
Mm.
snuggled me. Yeah, that was totally different.
Well, I think that for one, uh, as this particular lady like openly broadcast, like women have a lot of options. I mean, if they're not just wretched, they've got a line of guys like the matches on their dating app or whatever who are willing to come over and service them. And then on top of that, I think there are, you're talking about uh her, somebody being a good lover and learning how to like learning the language of your partner's body. Like there's that type of lover. There's the lover who is going to really engage with you and learn specifically, like paying attention to how you respond and going with that flow, like getting into a flow with your body and what you desire. And they learn to read what you desire, and that guides their action and vice versa. And then there's what I think probably a lot of guys, especially a lot of guys in the dating scene and a lot of guys who uh like have a lot of sexual partners, is they're not really doing that. They've got their routine down. Like they've got their scripted like fuck routine, and
Yeah.
they're going to come in and they're going to do that, and that's about all they know how to do. Like they've got this very specific script and repertoire of moves or whatever, and they're going to come in and go through that procedure, and then, maybe it's great, probably not. It probably feels just pretty depersonalized. Um, and so maybe that's something she was used to, sort of like when you were trying to tell her, no, do it this way. And she's like, oh, no, I'm not, I know what I'm doing. Like she's just got her routine she's going through. And I mean, I think that speaks
Mhm.
to a much broader issue of people not really having like having a lot of sex, but not really having connection or intimacy with it. And so they don't flex that muscle, as you put it, of actually connecting with a partner. It's just going through a mechanical procedure that maybe results in somebody getting off.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's safe to assume this, but I could potentially assume that if you are talking at people, you're probably
Right.
having sex at people too,
Yeah.
not
Ooh,
with
yeah.
people.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me do sex at you.
Yeah.
How gross is that, right? The other one I have is Boring Brenda, who I could also lump her into, but we've had so many Boring Brendas. Like I can think of so many where we've sat across that we like to go to this like upscale Mexican restaurant that's near us.
Yeah.
And I was telling Scott last night, I can think of every single date we've ever had at this restaurant. Every one of them has been them talking at us and incredibly boring. Like, and by boring, I
Mm,
mean like doesn't have a hobby, doesn't have a sense of identity, like their kids are their everything, or they hate their coworkers and they hate their job and they're just stuck. Like, I don't want to have somebody in my that I call back. Like, I don't want
yeah.
somebody that's gonna constantly be the same stuck and boring.
And some of them don't even, well, when you talk about the boring ones, I think about the ones who don't even, like they're not even telling us about anything. They're just sitting there staring at us. They literally just sit there and stare at us. And if there's any dialogue that's going to happen, it's just us asking a question, and then they give a really brief, really bland answer, and then they've got this flat emotional affect on their face, and then it just goes back to silence and staring until we ask another question.
I was curious who he was referring to until I remembered this was pancakes a few weeks ago.
But I yeah,
Trust
I don't
me,
want to.
they aren't listening to this podcast,
Well, that's
Scott.
true. Yeah.
It was like this, like the whole time. And finally, when we got back to the house, I was like, are you interested at all in us? You look
Yeah.
completely disinterested. Like, I think this is the end of the road here.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into, like, I've been thinking about different hmm, different reasons that people are like this, because some people are truly just totally self-absorbed, and
Hmm.
the only thing that goes to their mind is the shit from their day. And then there are people, I think, that feel intimidated, like they feel nervous, especially, that's a probably higher anxiety situation to be on a date with a couple.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think there legitimately are people who, when they're nervous, all they know how to do is like their nervous response is to just kind of ramble, and they'll ramble from one topic to the next, and they have like they don't know what to say, and so they'll just start talking about, well, here's this thing that, this coworker did, and then they just keep going like that. Um, but we're in our 40s. These
Yeah.
women are at least in their 30s. And you would think that, like, by the time a person reaches 35 years of life, they've figured out some way to like engage with other people. Like they've figured out how to have a conversation and how to express interest, or how to differentiate, when they're talking about themselves, how to differentiate, here's the stuff that matters, here's the interesting stuff about me, versus here's the boring shit that I went through today at work. And because it would never occur to me in a million years, like on my first date with somebody, my first time interacting with somebody face to face, to just go and complain about something that happened in class today, or complain about, oh, my ex sent me this text that was really thoughtless or obnoxious, and or they didn't. It's just like there's so many things that I would say define me as a person and that make me worth engaging with. And so if I'm going to sit down in front of somebody, I'm going to try to make them feel seen. I'm going to try to uh acknowledge, this is just something I do with people because it feels good to do so, is to find out what that person actually wants to be seen for, find out the qualities that they want for people to notice about them and want people to engage with about them. And I try to understand that. I try to figure that out. And then I try to engage with that aspect of them. And then if they're telling me, a story, or telling me something that has happened to them in their life, or something that is causing a dilemma for them, I'll try to, uh, I'll think about a situation that I've been in that seems relatable and try to relate with them. Like if I'm going to tell them stories about my life, it's either because they've asked, or it's because I'm trying to relate to an experience they've had through an experience that I've had. And people seem to like that. People like when, and I think there's kind of a balance there too. There's a balance between making a person feel listened to
Hmm.
versus uh, just sitting there and being a dummy for them to talk at. And so I don't know. To me, it seems intuitive to engage and have this kind of reciprocal discussion with people. And if I'm going to tell them about myself, I'm going to tell them about something about me that has meaning, that speaks to my character, or speaks to like who I am as a person. And that's what I'm listening for when they're talking to me. I'm listening for, how does this tell me who they are as a person, or how they think, their way of thinking. And if their way of thinking is, I am absolutely, utterly consumed with the pettiest crap that goes on day to day, and I have no curiosity about the world, I have no curiosity about you, and I draw no lasting meaning from any of my day-to-day experiences, then that's the person that I will not go on a, on a
Another
second
date
date
with.
with.
And I can't
Yeah.
wait to see how you break this off today with her, by the way, because
Uh,
I think the older that I get, my tolerance for hanging around people or trying to date people that are in that bucket that you just said, like literally don't actually have any interest in you. They just
yeah.
fit into one of these five categories. I want to turn that over and I want to close things off quickly and move forward. And I'm at the point where I'm deleting messages. Like I'm
Yeah.
deleting the threads that I had with them because there's energy there and it sucks you back
Mm.
into that and it feels gross. So I'm like deleting the Marco Polos, I'm deleting the text. I don't block people, but I'm like, on
Yeah.
to the next. Like, what do I have going on in my life that's after this? I had one more, well, two, I want to say two things before I go to our very last group and then we can talk about whatever. But
Okay.
you're so good at asking, what is it that you want to be known for? Like, what
Mm.
is it about you that you want other people to know? And that's a question that I think never gets asked. But when you are asked that, you really have to think about it. What am I? No, like for women, I think it's easy for us to.
Known for, or what are the qualities I possess that I want people to find attractive in me? Like,
That's a good one.
because a lot of people complain, oh, these people are just liking me because I look hot in my photo or something,
Right.
or they look like somebody that they want to have sex with, but they're not seeing me, they're not engaging with me, and so like there are qualities that we have. Like I'm not the I'm not a I'm a completely average looking guy. So if I'm gonna have confidence, I I have to know what my qualities are that are worthwhile. Like I have to know what's interesting, appealing about me, and I know the sort of people who find those qualities attractive, and I know the sort of people who don't give a second glance
Mhm.
to me and who I am as a person. And so I like to know that, and it does make people feel good. Like when I ask, what are the aspects of you that you want people to be attracted to? What are the things you find attractive in yourself and that you value about yourself? Um, and I love how some people there's really no substance there and they don't have anything, and that's fine. And then other people, they really light up uh when you ask them that, because it's just they're used to people only engaging with them at the most surface level and the most surface aspects of themselves. um and it feels good when somebody expresses real curiosity and an interest in seeing who they are beneath the surface.
The other question that I ask a lot is, what is it these days, right now, that excites you or turns you on in your life?
Mm. Are you asking me, or are you saying that's what you ask? You're
That's what
you're
I
curious
ask.
about?
Let's
Yeah.
role play. How would you respond to that, Scott?
Oh man.
A
It
million things, probably.
and it's funny. Yeah, there's so many things. Like I've
Tell me.
said, like I'm never bored. I've got so many projects I'm working on. Whether it's like school, like
Mhm.
my design projects for school, thinking about, okay, how can I improve the way that I'm teaching? Because I've got the engineering students I'm teaching, and I think about like, what can I offer them? What's another way to approach that's like engaging with them, that it's stuff's going to click for them better. Obviously right now I'm excited. Well, I don't know if excited is the term. I'm thinking a lot about like what are the job opportunities available to me around here, and where do I want to go with that. um, I'm thinking about like projects I want to do around the house. Like there are any number of things. Like I'm thinking about uh there's always just a lot of stuff on my mind, and things that I would love to share, things that I'm passionate about. Whether it's space or nuclear reactors, or it's just random stuff going on in the world, or talking about how people think and how people interact. Like those are all things that are exciting and fascinating to me, and that I would love to talk about with other people. And some people have passions that they, you know, are able to share, they get excited to share. And some people just don't really have anything that they're excited about.
Yeah, I think to close out boring Brenda, I agree with you. And you don't have to be boring. Like, I realized that I was really boring after I left my first husband and I started dating again. It was the first time I'd ever been on dating
Mm.
apps because 10 years I was, with him. And I remember sitting across from young, excited businessmen, and they'd go, "What do you do for fun? What are your hobbies?" And I was like, keeping kids alive. What are you talking about? Like, I'm
Yeah.
exhausted. And when you start to realize that that's your response, and then you start to think about, well, who would want to date me? Would I want to date me?
Mm.
And you start to realize you're boring as fuck. Like, you need to take a hot minute, maybe take yourself off the dating market and spend some time with yourself. Spend some time learning how to craft badly. Like, spend
Yeah.
some time learning how to make friends as an adult. Spend some time going to the gym and feeling good in your body and like take some supplements and listen to some new music. Like Scott's saying, there's a million things out there that we can't even see when we're just in survival mode. And no one wants to date someone in survival mode. So I
Well,
think, go ahead.
well, if I, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like as you're saying that, when you're saying, well, who would want to date me? Well, there are plenty of people that want to date you that don't care that you're boring because they just want to get laid and they're not interested in engaging with you as a whole person.
Right.
They don't need you to be interesting. They need you to be somebody that they can just get off with. And so I think I think there has to be a sort of awareness, a sort of self-awareness where you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm I'm quote unquote successful in dating because I a lot of guys are going home with me, but is that quality? Is that like, is there any substance to that? Is that like, how do I feel about that afterwards? And then you have to recognize, oh, none of them are actually engaging with me. Like, none of them are interested in me as a person. They're just interested in, I'll go lay down for them.
I think it's a great point. I think the first question is ask what you actually want and be honest with yourself.
Mm.
So one of my service providers, I was laying on her table like a couple months ago, and I only see her like once a year. And we were talking about her wanting to date and how terrible the dating market was. And I said, "Well, what is it that you want?" And she's like, "Well, I'd really love to settle down with somebody. I'd really love to have a man that's really interesting and have an interesting person to come home to every night." And then she started telling me what's on her dating profile because that was my next question. And she's like, "Well, it says, you know, not here for a long time, here for a good time." And then it says
That's what
something
her
like,
profile says?
yeah. And then
Jesus.
and then it says something like, just here to see if anything clicks and then see where it goes from there. So, I mean, all
Right.
this tells me she just wants to fuck people. Then I ask, well, that's interesting. So she starts telling me, well, these guys that I've been connecting with, they just want to have sex with me and I don't understand. So that's, I started having her walk me through her profile. I'm like,
Right.
ding, ding, ding. And then
Was
I'm
she
like,
like 21 years old?
no, she's like 47. And
Jesus.
then I'm like, okay, tell me about what kind of pictures you have on your profile. Like, are they party girl pictures or are they, you doing classy things, And she was like, oh, yeah, well, I have a few where I'm in like a short mini skirt because I want people to know that I like to go get drinks and have fun. And I was
Yeah.
like, that is not telling any man that you're looking for someone of substance, like
Right.
0% of your profile. No wonder why you're getting who you're fishing for. So I agree with you. Like being very, really, truly honest in what you want, and then aligning your profiles into that, and then making sure that you're actually moving forward with dates with people that only align with that. And stop like us. Like, I mean, what did he say? 100 dates later, and we're still fucking making the same mistakes. Like, we're still going out
Yeah.
with people that yammer when we could have probably looked at the text thread for the last 3 or 4 days before we asked her out and said, oh, wow, she hasn't asked a single question about me. I bet our
Yeah.
date is going to be exactly the same as these text threads. And they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Um,
Do you want to?
well, no, well, I'm just thinking through like the cognitive dissonance of this. What was it? Your massage therapist? Was it?
No, I'm not
Or
telling you who it is in case she listens.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway,
And
the
no, you know
person
I
who
get
was,
massages more than once a year. Come on now.
yeah, the person who was, yeah, this 47-year-old who's like, why does anybody want to settle down with me? My profile says I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like, how do you, how does a grown thinking adult not make that most basic connection?
Well, and the being boring, I started asking her, like, what do you like? What kinds of things do you like to talk about? And she's like, nothing. I work all day and then I go home and I go to bed. And I'm like,
Ugh.
you don't like craft or like do Pilates or like have a hiking club or anything? And she was like, no, I just work all the time. Nobody wants to date you when you work all the time and you have no room in your life for a person to join
But
you.
well, if I could put a different spin on that,
Please.
like if your work is something that you truly and enjoy and is fascinating to you, like my work, my design work is interesting to me. And if some like if I were working every day, like working all the time, I'd be working on something because it's enthralling for me, because it's fascinating, because like I love working on it. Like that's the thing I want to be doing and putting my time into. And if somebody asked me about it, I think I could explain like why my work is so at least fascinating to me, what I'm getting out of it. But like,
You're a
oh, I just
mechanical
work
engineer, though. This is a service provider, someone who's giving
right.
a service to me, and it's probably not all that exciting.
But what I'm getting, so like I have a friend
Mhm.
who she works as a server. Like that's her primary occupying job is working as a server. But if I ask her about her day and I ask her, you know, what's like, why do you do this? Uh, she can tell me all kinds of reasons, like why she enjoys being a server and what it does, like what it does for her physically, like the physical aspect of being a server and how that benefits her in all these ways, and the social interaction of it and how that benefits her, and how she derives gratification and derives fulfillment from this, what would seem like just a boring, tiring job. And so I guess what I'm getting at is if, and this is a lesson, like, just going off in a completely different topic here,
I
but
love it.
like the reason I'm in the job I'm in now, or the going on the career path I'm in now, is because I was living a life where I was spending all my, you know, so many hours of every day at a job that I didn't care about and that was boring, and there was nothing about it was exciting, and
Mhm.
nothing about it like if somebody asked me what I did for work, I would just it's fucking boring, don't worry, you don't even want to know, it would bore me to tell you. And I thought I would rather die than keep doing this. So I guess my thoughts would be, if you're in the sort of job where it's so consuming that you don't have time to do anything you enjoy, and you don't enjoy your job, go do something else so that you feel like you're living and not just in this constant state of living death every day.
Yeah, because nobody would want to date that.
Because nobody would want to date that. And
And you
you
might
probably
kill
wouldn't want to
yourself, and
date
we
you.
don't want you
And
to do
yeah,
that. Okay, my last one, Scott, is free date Franny.
free to, you're
The
really
one that
stretching with
just,
these.
I know, the one that
That was
just
good
wants
though.
a free time, just wants
Right.
somebody to take her out, just needs a night out that somebody else is going to foot the bill for.
You know, that makes sense for like college girls who like there are guys who'll take them out and get them drinks and buy them a meal. If I think, you know,
We've had this so much though. Out of the, if we just again take a sample size of 100,
yeah.
I can think of two people, they're the same two people that ask questions about us, that would grab the check or take a term
Yeah.
or say, we'll just split it three ways because
Yeah.
they never wanted to feel like they were mooching off of
Or
us.
you came up to visit me, so I'm gonna get dinner
Yep.
tonight.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, there are a very small percentage of just thoughtful people who are mindful of contributing as much to the relationship as they're getting out of it. And it shows that, you know, they value us as we value them. Um, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful to meet people like that.
The two people that we've met. I have a couple other things too that I was thinking of, like unresolved trauma, or to your point,
Mm,
the ex-husband they never got over, or the mental health, like ADHD especially, where you can't even have a conversation with somebody because they're all over the place like a little bunny rabbit.
yeah.
Those are really difficult things to work with.
Um, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I think that even people who are grappling with that, grappling with ADHD or grappling with trauma, like they're still capable of self-awareness and they're still capable of recognizing, well, I'm out spending time with another person. I'm engaging with another person. That other person is investing time and energy into me.
Mhm.
So I can treat them with, you know, with respect and interest. And yeah, like if I don't know. I don't want to harp on people for those kinds of dysfunctions or disorders. I'm just thinking about like a very basic thing if you're going out with people is to have enough self-awareness to recognize you are engaging with another person and they have lives too and they have interests and they want to be known just as much as they want to be known and seen just as much as you want to be known and seen. And if you're not interested in giving that to another person, like if you're not curious enough about other people and curious enough about people in the world outside of yourself, then you're probably not listening to this podcast for one, and you're probably just going to have a series of disappointing, unfulfilling dates or hookups or whatever.
I'm giggling because you're probably right. None of those people that we've talked about are listening to this podcast
Yeah,
because their
they don't give a
self-awareness is
shit.
at 0%. But what you
Right.
can do is forward this podcast episode to somebody that you know needs to
Had
hear
a
it and
had a
that you don't
disappointing
want to
date with.
tell,
Yeah,
hey, dude, have some self-awareness. Be like, hey, there's this really interesting episode I listened to that you might like.
yeah. If you want to go out with, if you want people to be interested in you, show an interest in them. Um, and I think that it's, I don't know. Hmm. I think that there are people who really don't have the capacity for that, and then there are people that it just hasn't clicked for them, and then it maybe it will click for them, and they'll have much more successful and meaningful and fulfilling interactions if they figure that out.
Thank you for listening to the Open Bedroom Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and give us a like and click subscribe below and stay up to date on all the new episodes that we release. If you have a topic that you'd really like more information on, leave us a comment below and we'll see what we can do. Feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and especially your partners. This is a great way to open up some amazing conversations. We'll see you next week.